Welcome to DermTV Viewer Question Week, November 2012. Today's episode will feature questions from DermTV YouTube viewers. And don't forget, as part of Viewer Question Week, I'll be answering viewer questions over live streaming video at beautyrxlive.com. So if you have a question, tune in this Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hello, I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and welcome to DermTV. Today's first question is from UIC Marie about the glycolic acid episode. Can glycolic acid replace what retinol does? I remember you said you prefer glycolic acid over retin A since there are less side effects. I'm currently using mild retinol and high percentage glycolic products and peel. When you ask if retinol can be replaced by glycolic, if you're using both retinoids and glycolics at the same time, you're probably over-exfoliating. Retinoids are powerful. They're strong. They're not ineffective. They do work as exfoliants, but the problem with retinoids is that they're brittle. You so easily get irritated, and you need a prescription. With the retinol, you don't need a prescription, but you get unpredictable amount of conversion of retinol into retin A, which is the retinoid. So in this case, where you're using high percentage glycolic products and glycolic peels, that should be sufficient exfoliation. And by using a mild retinol, a mild low-strength retinol really isn't going to convert into much tretinoin, which is retin A anyway. So I don't really see the benefit, and I think you'll eliminate variables, have more predictable results if you just stay with your high percentage glycolics and your glycolic peels. Virginia says, concerning the shaving technique episode for women, I'm a little unclear about whether you mean one should just shave in a downward motion only, or whether one should shave upward and then downward for the closest shave, or do you mean that by shaving only in a downward motion, you can keep the hair softer? Well, Virginia, there are a couple of things going on here, but this is the bottom line. Shaving with the grain, or with the direction in which the hairs are growing, I would think is what you mean by downward. And if you only do that, the hairs will not be as bristly when they start to grow back in. They won't have as coarse of a surface, so it won't feel as stubbly, and you won't think that the hair is thicker and coarser, even though it's really not. If you shave, and that will give you a not very close shave. If you shave first with the direction of the grain and then against it, you get a much closer shave, but in that case, the tops of the hairs you shaved off, as they start to grow in, the new hair is going to be pretty perpendicular, so it's going to be wider than a wispy tip, just the tip, and it's going to feel rougher or more stubbly. So it's going to be not as delicate, not as feminine, and it's going to almost suggest to you that maybe the hairs got thicker, even though they didn't. So that's the bottom line. Just with the grain, not as close of a shave, but it doesn't feel as stubbly and coarse. With the grain and then against, a closer shave, but it feels a little bit coarser and more stubbly as it starts to grow in. So Curly Girl 1210 asks, concerning cleansers and toners, I'm wondering, are toners for everyone? I used to use one and then heard toners strip your face of too much natural oils to a point where it causes excess oil production. So I stopped using them. I have combination skin that is very sensitive and prone to dryness. I believe everybody should use a toner because I think that toners synergize with cleansers in getting you better cleansing and prepping of your skin so that your active ingredients have fewer impediments to penetration and they can work more predictably and more reliably. However, toners do not have to be harsh, and the whole point of getting the synergy is to avoid using either a harsh cleanser or a harsh toner. And by getting a synergy in dirt, debris, and oil and dead cell removal between the two, you don't need to use as strong of either of them. So this begs the question of, can a strong toner cause excess oil production? And the bottom line is, whether you're using a mild toner or a regular toner, you're not going to cause excess oil production. The only thing that can increase oil production is a hormonal influence on the oil gland. If your toner is so strong that it actually causes your skin to become rough and inflamed and irritated. That inflamed skin can influence the hormonal status of the skin and then could cause an increase in oil production. But nobody's going to use a toner that leaves their face that red or that irritated, at least I hope not. So the bottom line is, any toner that you're using that isn't causing overt irritation is not going to cause a rebound or increased oil production. And please, by all means, just use a cleanser and toner that are appropriate for your skin type. And I think that you will get your skin in better shape in preparation for your other products. Money Coats says, in terms of properly washing hands, could you die if you don't wash your hands at all? You won't die, but your friends may from the odor. No, you're not going to die from not washing your hands. If you don't wash your hands, you're just going to get accumulated dirt and germs. It's unlikely that you're actually going to get an infection unless you break the skin and the germs that have accumulated fall into that crack. But why would you want to not ever wash your hands? If you're not washing your hands, you're not doing anything to remove any of the oils and dead cells that build up. And in terms of hygiene, I think it's going to be a completely unacceptable situation. But as cute questions go, I think it's an interesting question. And the bottom line is, if you don't want to wash your hands, you're not going to die. But I don't think you're going to have a lot of friends. The Little Tofu asks, are there any benefits to layering a physical sunblock over a chemical sunblock? My face tends to get very sweaty very fast. I think I'm sweating off all of my sunblock within 5 minutes of leaving the house. I can't think of any benefit of layering one sunscreen over another. Whichever single sunscreen you choose should be an effective sunscreen, which means, by definition, it should have a minimum SPF between 15 and 30 with UVA or broad spectrum protection. Having said that, that will give you adequate protection from the sun. But whether you're using one screen or layering another sunscreen over it, if you're using one sunscreen or layering another one over it, you're still going to have to reapply your sunscreen from sweating, swimming, and even if you're doing nothing, every 2 to 3 hours. So the rule of thumb is sunscreens need to be reapplied immediately after swimming, sweating, and every 2 to 3 hours. It makes no sense to put the sunscreen on thicker. That won't give you more substantivity, which is the amount of time that it lasts, and there are no waterproof or sweatproof sunscreens. And recent changes in the FDA monograph mandate that labeling be put into effect, actually by most major companies, next month. L.A. Tina Turner, in asking about DIY vitamin C, good to know. By the way, in the episode on vitamin C, I mentioned that most homemade or DIY vitamin C preparations just aren't going to work. Her question is, since it's acidic, can the crushed vitamin C be used as an exfoliator in a homemade scrub? Well, the answer is no. And just because it's an acid doesn't mean it's going to be an exfoliator. Not all acids exfoliate. All acids will destroy cells or any substance in a high enough concentration. But the whole point with exfoliators is effective exfoliants dissolve the cement between the cells, just encouraging the cells to fall off faster without doing any real damage or creating holes in your skin as a strong acid would do. So because something is an acid doesn't mean it's an exfoliant. Vitamin C acid or ascorbic acid is not going to be an effective exfoliant, and I believe that in chemical exfoliants, which are superior to physical exfoliants, that glycolic acid is the gold standard of chemical exfoliants. And in the same vein, Pink Sofoxy, in talking about the same episode, really has a sharp eye, because Pink Sofoxy noticed that in the sidebar next to my episode, there were all of these videos about making DIY vitamin C preparations. The irony, you can't make this kind of stuff up. Of course, it's a coincidence. I don't think anybody planted it there, although it may well be that certain search engines which place these related videos may have caught on to the subject of vitamin C, but what a counterpoint. Here we have my video about explaining in scientific terms why most DIY vitamin C preparations aren't going to work, and then you have this whole list of videos on DIY vitamins. So Pink Sulfoxy, thanks for bringing that to our attention. It put a big smile on my face. Well, that's it for today. And don't forget, the subjects from so many DermTV episodes come from your questions, which are so great. So please keep sending them in, and I'll keep answering as many of them as I can. Please join me again at dermtv.com. If you have a question, please send it to me by visiting dermtv.com/question. I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and thank you for watching today.